Welcome to another edition of Brownsville Matters. I'm your host, Dr. WF Strong. Have with us in the studio today Vj Colunga, who has a wonderful cover band called AudioEscape. And so we're going to talk to him about the music scene here in Brownsville. And he's been, you lived here most of your life, right? You moved here from Austin, you said? When
I was very young.
Do you remember being in Austin before? Or is that
vague snippets?
Like 3 or something, right?
Yeah, no, snippets of memories, yeah.
Okay. And do you regret sometimes not being in Austin, given its profound music scene these days?
As an adult?
No, I mean, like growing up there as part of that scene.
For the sake of music and for the style of music that I'm into and what we play, and I would say, yeah. There's a small part of me that wishes I didn't spend more time up there, didn't grow up there.
Yeah, but you're too young to be part of the outlaw movement up there. So I was just up there this weekend at Texas State, and they have this on the 7th floor of the library at Texas State. They have a museum, and part of that museum is dedicated to Texas music. And right now they have a big exhibit on Vj Colunga, on Jerry Jeff Walker's great album that was recorded live in Luckenbach.
Cool. Before
Luckenbach was even known, it kind of put it on the map a little bit. But anyway, it covers that movement, what they call the outlaw
That's cool.
music
I gotta look
movement.
that up.
That was very cool. If you ever get a chance to go, if you're ever in San Marcos, take the time to go to the library, the university library. Go to the 7th floor, and they have an incredible exhibit on Texas music and history of Texas music.
That would be awesome. I love it.
And they have music playing all the time and videos going. So it's a very interactive and fun and animated. A lot of times you tell people library, they go, "Oh God, they're going to give me books," But it's more like walking through a video museum. So very cool, really cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
So anyway, you came here when you were young, and were you part of a musical family?
Very much so. Yes. Both my parents come from a very musical background. They were both in band in junior high and high school, and very involved with the church music scene. Both of them, once they had their kids, it was almost like it was second nature to us. Always around it.
It's interesting how many musicians have come out of church. That's where they kind of get their love of music and their training early.
Oh,
right?
very much so. Yeah, it was.
That was Elvis's story, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was gospel music.
That's what his later stuff outside of the rock and roll, his sound was modeled after that sound, I believe.
And you?
Mine? In what sense?
Your early influence, were you also influenced by
my early
religious or gospel music, if we call it that?
In a way, in a sense, it taught me to appreciate the chords and choir sounds. Basically, just the background music, the synth sounds that is rock music, that is your background vocals, all of that stuff. It made me appreciate all of that more.
What was your first instrument?
First instrument I learned how to play was the French horn, and that was.
How interesting! I wouldn't have expected that. I would have expected, the piano, the organ,
guitar, drums. Yeah, no, because my parents, they were very involved with music, and they were very involved in our lives, involving music.
Well, what did they play? What instrument?
My mother was a percussionist. My father was also a French horn player. Yeah, and I have 2 older siblings and 2 younger siblings. All 5 of us were in band as well.
Everybody French horn, or
the majority of us? Oldest brother French horn. Other older brother played, you name it. That guy plays it. It's piano, guitar, bass, trumpet, name it. Just about everything. Yeah. Me French horn, younger sister French horn, and my youngest brother is I believe he was a trumpet player.
Do you have siblings in your band?
No, this is not a Partridge Family situation.
Not not the Selena thing, right?
No. Although as we've gotten older, the thought has occurred to me, like maybe one day record something with them. But yeah, all very musical. Oldest brother's up in Galveston right now, or in the Dickinson, Galveston area. He plays music up there. Has his own. He teaches music as well. Other older brother is I believe he plays, and don't quote me on this. He plays for, sings for, and helps produce for the Army band. He himself is in the Army.
Oh,
yeah. And younger sister, not really too much into music. I believe right now it's her, in her thing, it's mainly in the car.
So interesting how armies throughout history had bands. You know, they often marched to war.
March to war, yeah.
With a band.
That one snare drum and a few flutes, yeah.
They've been entwined, since Alexander the Great. Just
it's almost crazy to think how far music has come since then in terms of marching band or army bands or just music in general.
Now, were you in the marching band yourself?
I was, yes. Yeah.
When did you graduate, so to speak, from what we would call school music, church music, to what you do now?
Oof. I would say about a few years after high school. Yeah. My music, regardless of it, whether it was gospel, whether it was orchestra, or no matter what it was always in the house. Oh, so my dad always had Chicago playing, or Queen, or
Steely Dan.
No Steely Dan.
No Steely Dan.
No,
I need to talk to him.
You should. You should. I only not so recently, but found out about Steely Dan, and I can actually say I'm a Steely Dan fan.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
good.
Good music. Yeah, same thing with my mom. Mom's a little more conservative with her music, but when she's not, you get things like Earth, Wind, and Fire. It's very, very disco-y type of stuff.
But big sound.
Big sounds, yes. Grew up with very ballady type music, and that's why I can attribute that to my parents, and that the type of music that was always playing was very ballady type of music. So I just kind of picked up on that, being able to project and sing, and so that the theater was also a big help with that with me. So
did you write your own music?
It's funny that you say that. I just on this past Sunday wrote my first song.
Wow!
Very first song.
Well, congratulations!
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I was never my other older brother.
You must have tried before. You can hardly be a musician and playing instruments without at least dabbling in a riff now and then. I
was always more of a storyteller myself on paper.
Okay.
Being able to write stories.
That's me.
Yeah. It's always come.
But I have no musical ability. So I've got the story, but no music.
It's always been a little bit more difficult for me to put the rhymes, the very, however you write music.
Yeah.
In that sense, I was never really good at it. Yeah. But these past 4 years and being able to take past life experiences involving music, involving everything, just kind of one day decided to sit down and I'm going to give it a shot.
Well, that's why a lot of musicians who cannot do both have a partnership like Elton John. You have a lyricist, someone who can do it, and then you got the musician, and they work well together in tandem.
Right.
Then you have those that are the geniuses who
the
can
whole package.
Do it all.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I was always envious of my siblings growing up. Very, very, very talented in that sense as well. As I've just finally decided I'm going to take a stab at this and figure it out. And I sent it to the other guys in the band, and they were
they like it.
I told them I said critique it, just don't be harsh.
Yeah.
I'll leave that to my wife. It's just she can be as harsh as she wants. But yeah.
Have you heard this? There's a song, relatively new song called "Austin" by Dasha, and it's a kind of progressive country song, but one of those that I don't like to listen to it because I really like it a lot, and it will stay in me for 3 days before I can cleanse my mental palate, so to speak.
I have heard it, yeah.
But it's a very popular song at the moment, and it's interesting that she, along with a few friends, kind of wrote it, as I understand, in about 4 hours.
Wow.
So sometimes things just come together in a beautiful, intellectual epiphany, and it comes full born almost. It's an interesting, inventive process. So you get enough people with talent sitting around, together in a room drinking or smoking pot.
That always helps.
And it explodes.
Wasn't my go-to this past Sunday, but just had a lot on my mind and decided to put it on paper.
Yeah. Well, I hope that when you play it together, that it has the same magic that you want it to have.
Yeah, I'm hoping I was speaking to the group about it. They had nothing negative to say.
Do you write everybody's part, or do they, when they play it, they go with their intuition as to how to roll with it?
It's more of an intuition on their part. The guys that I've been playing with for these past 4 years are talented guys, way more musically talented than I will ever be. A lot of these guys, they're about the same age. They're going to hate me for saying this. They're a little older than I am, just a little older. But no, they're phenomenal musicians. And what I've learned about piecing together music, even if it's just covers, trying to figure out if it's a certain sound that we want, do we want it to sound the same? Do we want it to sound different? Do we want to make this song that somebody else has already done our own cover of it? Do we want it to sound exactly the same? These guys are able to do things that I didn't even imagine were possible. Just off the top of their head on the fly, being able to come up with drum riffs or certain guitar riffs, or, was been very blessed or more so them finding me and being a part of that team. So,
well, tell me about the instruments in your. Do you sing?
I do sing. Yeah.
Okay, you're the lead singer.
Lead singer, yeah.
And what are the other instruments?
There's a guitar, lead guitar, bass, and drums. It's just four of us.
And you give me the sorts of songs that you cover.
Sorts of songs. That's anything ranging. You're looking at stuff from CCR all the way from Billy Idol to Journey to even stuff from the early 2000s, some late 90s, Green Day.
It's wonderful. It's a good thing.
Yeah. We try. We've been described a few times as an in-person jukebox. In that our song selection is so vast that it's
that's a great description.
Yeah, in that it's just like it's almost like you're listening to an iPod or an iPod that's dated. It's listening to your phone on shuffle. Yeah. So that's like, for us, I feel that's a huge compliment.
Well, Gabriel here told me that you were playing at Sombrero Fest and you were just a huge hit, and the people didn't want you to leave.
No. I honestly wish we could have played longer.
I do think that with live music, people do want to hear what they're familiar with. Even if you're a good band, they don't want to hear a lot of new stuff. They want to hear the stuff that they know and they can sing along with, and they can groove with. It's real important. Like you mentioned Creedence, and I was telling somebody the other day that the first time I ever heard it through the grapevine,
love that song,
was from Creedence, and of course it was written at least a decade before.
Before, yeah.
And even though I've heard the original, I got to go. Who sang the original? Do you know? Off the top of your head, I can't remember who sang it originally.
Marvin Gaye.
I think so, right? Yeah. And it's great, but I got educated to the song by Creedence. And so that's my favorite.
That's fair. That's fair. I believe I heard it the same way, and then just kind of did the exact same thing. Just kind of did a deep dive and where's this song originally from? Which made me fall in love with Motown, you know?
And then Creedence, they had this big drum solo in the middle of it's 11 minutes long, I think, is their version. And it also has a deep driving beat underneath it all that makes it different from the other. They, like you said, they put their Creedence stamp on a great song. And sometimes that doesn't work. Not always. One of the things that's kind of surprising me now is I have a 9-year-old daughter who listens to TikTok radio,
It's okay. My wife does this.
And hence I listen to it too. And so I like some of it, but she even said, because they have all these little samplings within the songs of something maybe from the 60s that is in the middle of their song.
Right.
And my daughter said, why can't they make their own? Why are they borrowing?
I want to shake your daughter's hand.
Right?
Just be like, I think someone raised you right.
Yeah, right. So why are they taking other people's songs? Why don't they write their own?
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree.
But they must have to pay a lot to.
Oh, I'm sure.
To sample those.
Certain
they're not doing the whole song. They're doing a piece, but they'll often build the whole song around that beat. Interesting phenomenon. So, okay, you were performing at Sombrero Fest before how many people? 1,500, 2,000?
Let's say that.
It's hard to know.
It's honestly hard to know. I people that have come up to me and asked me about the experience, I told them, honestly, I'm going to go based off of whatever it is you say. However many people were there. When you're on stage, it's a completely different experience. Yeah. I can speak for myself. When the lights are pointed at your face and
so you can't really see beyond the
just see
first 5 people.
Yeah, first 5 rows, and then everything else is just silhouettes.
Yes.
Yeah, it was an amazing experience. This is the 3rd time we've played there. We think of it as paying our dues. In that very first time we played very early in the day, and next year a little later in the day, and then this year was. We're finally able to play in the evening under the big tent. We opened for the headliner, and it was, I'm telling you, it was a great experience.
Who was the headliner this year?
Headliner this year for the day that we played, which was on Saturday, was the AC/DC tribute band.
Oh, okay.
Those guys are awesome.
There are a lot of tribute bands.
There are, yeah.
When I was in Vegas, I heard the Beatles tribute band, and they're just wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
But I would imagine they get kind of tired of playing that
same thing.
15 songs over and over, but they make really good money.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. That's what I mean. I think I think any musician that listens to this can kind of agree that when you play the same set list over and over and over, it gets a little stale, just a little bit from the musician's standpoint. I mean, you're doing it for yourself because you love music, but at the same time, if you see people enjoying it and doing what they love, I mean, that's a reason, at least for me, why you kind of put up with it a little bit.
So the audience response becomes a contagion for you.
Oh, for me, 100%. I can't perform the way I'd like to perform without good, positive audience feedback. I think it's also, excuse me, another reason why. It's also another reason why the experience for me at Sombrero Fest was so phenomenal. It's just such positive feedback. People yelling the lyrics back at me, and or just all of us. That's something that we all spoke about as a group. It was something different, very, very different, but a very good different.
Yeah, the great Walt Whitman, the poet. He said to have great poets, we must have great audiences, and I think it's true for music.
Oh, 100%.
If you don't have great audiences that love it, then the musicians cannot be inspired.
Even if that audience consists of thousands, or even the one special person that you can connect to, and that's why one of the things that I do performance-wise is if I'm putting on a show as best as I can for X amount of people, and only one person in an audience kind of engages with me, I'm going to perform to that person as best as I can, and in hopes that I can kind of get more people to join in on that.
Very smart.
Yeah, we all kind of have our own little little things that we like to do to try to engage the audience as best as we can.
What songs do you most like to sing? I'm sure this depends on the night and the crowd and all that, but some of your favorites here. You really love to sing this song. What would that be?
While on stage, or just
while on stage?
Oh, okay.
And then in the shower.
We'll do both. All right. On stage, I'll probably say anything involving Journey.
Okay.
Anything Journey related. It's Journey's one of my favorite bands. So that one, anything Journey kind of gets people to tap their feet, and so iconic. Their sound, Steve Perry's voice, all of it. So anything Journey, or anything a little harder to get the few metalheads in the audience to kind of like anything involving that. But outside, you're looking at stuff from Queen, Sammy Hagar, anything Van Halen, but honestly, anything that kind of has a large vocal presence that is within range, I will give it a shot, and that's the kind of music that I like to sing. Anything with a large vocal presence.
Did you see the film about Queen? I think it came
Bohemian
out last
Rhapsody.
Year.
Yeah, a couple of years ago. Yeah.
Boy, could he work a crowd?
Oh yeah, I draw inspiration from him.
Wow,
he's a huge inspiration to me. Involving crowd involvement and just interaction. Freddie Mercury was,
because if I remember correctly, the movie did take real clips from his concerts and then splice it into the filming of who was the actor who played
Rami Malek.
Yeah, spliced in with him performing similarly to a similar crowd, so they could kind of fuse the two. But anyway, I've seen documentaries of Freddie Mercury. Wow, the guy was a
4-octave
performing
vocal range.
genius.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Anything involving musically, vocally with him, I'm hooked. It's me and my bass player.
I just loved in the movie where he's trying to convince them that doing an opera-like song will be okay, and they say, no one will ever listen. It's too long. It'll flop.
Does anyone actually like opera? Yeah. I love opera.
So a wonderful scene and over again you see that in, I don't care whether it's writing or music or whatever level of art you find. There's always these stories of the genius who was told it wouldn't work, and then he goes off and redefines the genre. Yeah. It's truly inspirational to see that happen.
Oh yeah, hearing that one line in the movie, this is what sets Queen apart from the other bands. This is like, we're four misfits that don't belong together, but somehow, I don't know the line exactly, but somehow we make it work, or something like that.
It works.
Yeah, we're playing for the other misfits in the back of the room. It's kind of the same thing with us, involving in hopes that when we start getting our originals, start doing more of those. That's kind of what we want to do to get people more involved. Yeah.
When I was a kid, the Beatles were the big phenomenon, and other than Elvis, there was, I suppose at that time, no one who had caused that type of hysteria in the social atmosphere of America. And so it was interesting to watch, and even to reflect back on it after all these years. To they call it the British invasion, when the Fab Four came to America, and the girls just lost their minds.
That's our hope as well.
That's what you wanted.
No, don't play this for my wife. She don't like that one.
But okay, so you did some Bretto Fest, but what are your other venues? Where do you typically play?
Honestly, anywhere that hires us. It sounds like we're desperate. No,
you do weddings.
We have done one wedding. We've done one wedding in the past. We've done private parties. We have done any bar in town, or even out all across the
island.
We've been at the island, I believe, one time. Yeah.
And downtown is supposed to have a pretty good music scene, they tell me. I don't really spend much time down there. I'm too old, I think. Well, not really. There's a lot of people my age down there. But anyway, I'm just not familiar with what's going on there in the evening. I just hear it's got a vibrant music scene. but they're small venues.
They're small venues. They're a little small. We have played, I think, once downtown at Palm Lounge.
Oh, Palm Lounge. Okay.
Yeah, we played there one time. We're really hoping to get our foot in the door. Downtown scene, honestly, anywhere in Brownsville, in the Valley, but specifically in Brownsville. I know we've played at Broken Sprocket. We've played at
There's
a few places around town.
Okay, let's begin there. Have you played at Longboard?
Yes, yes, we played at Longboards. We played there one time. Hoping to go back. With the summer coming up, we're hoping to kind of try our hand a few times with a few other businesses there. Put some feelers out there. I haven't heard anything back just yet, but I believe as it is with a lot of businesses, it's about who you know. You know? Yeah. So sometimes it's a little difficult to get our foot in the door in some places, and sometimes it's a little easier. You just kind of hope that the right person is there listening to y'all play, in hopes that, hey, I got a business over here that y'all would be great.
One of my ex-students, Clady, she for the last 2 summers, her band has played like every night. Kind of, they have a summer-long contract to play at. Well, I call it the Sheraton because that's what it used to be, but it's the Radisson. It used to be the Radisson, and now it has a different name. Anyway, she played there, and then up the island also at the Garden Inn or their outside bar, Margaritaville. Okay, so but she's built a nice little career, and she's doing a lot of recording of. I know she did a studio album over the last 3 months or so. So
that's cool.
But for her, it kind of started with playing out there and getting a consistent ability to perform. And as you know, that's how the magic happens over time, is every night, and you just get better and better.
Yeah.
If your voice holds up.
Oh, it can. Every show, I always have room temp water, a thermos of tea, hot tea, throat soothing tea that consists of the tea itself, lemon. Oh, was it limes? Yeah. The hot tea, limes. Oh yeah.
No sugar.
No. Well, I got honey. I got some honey in there, and then little shot of whiskey in there as well. Always helps.
Well, I do a lot of recording for audiobooks and stuff like that, and I learned that lesson. No cokes, no sugars, because it'll kind of diminish your ability to go for an hour recording. Your voice fades on you, and you have to quit. Yeah, and so. It's an important thing to learn that water is probably the most important thing you can be drinking.
To hydrate.
To hydrate.
Yeah, we're used to playing 4 hours the majority of the time with 2 maybe 10 to 15 minute breaks in between sets. So I've learned the hard way to how to properly take care of my voice.
Plus, for those of us just doing narration, we're at a decibel 3 or something, and you have an incredible range and push against your vocal cords. So the stress for you,
it's a lot of practice, a lot of trial and error figuring that out.
What is the most challenging song you sing in terms of range?
In terms of range, I would say,
or you have to say, "Can I get that note?" Am I going to have to get a running start to get that note at the top?
I would say something. We do Livewire by Motley Crue. There's a point in that song where Vince Neil his voice just shoots up. So I've learned how to properly, I always say that breathing is the foundation of singing. So you have to figure out where to take your breath, how to properly do that. And in that song, the verses kind of go a little quick, and the words are back to back to back to back to back. So when it's inching closer and closer to that part of the song, I've learned to just, right when I finish a phrase, exhale, inhale as quickly as I can, and then just try to belt it as well as I can. So I would say that song is probably in terms of range, that's probably the one.
Do you have any sort of quote from a great singer that you kind of keep in your mind as inspiration or focus anything that comes from a great singer that says this, you must do this to sing well, or you must do this to develop your skills, or like you just said, breathing is the basis of good singing, which I'm sure is true. But if you don't have an answer to that question, who are your singing heroes?
Singing heroes, I'd probably just say the exact same too. I'd go with Freddie Mercury and Steve Perry. Yeah.
And what have they taught you?
Oof. How to properly take care of my voice. I just growing up.
Did they do that? They drank hot tea? And
I don't know if they did, but my way of saying that they taught me how to properly take care of it is when I was learning how to sing. One thing that I do on stage is I don't try to, I try to imitate the original singer's voice. Not so much so that it sounds identical to the person's voice, but so that the song has the same type of feel to it, as closely as it can. Because you're few people, because you have the raspiness.
You want to channel their spirit.
Exactly. Suppose, you have the raspiness of the voice that is the singer for CCR. And you have the clarity. Sorry, I hit the mic. You have the clarity, and the clarity / ever so slight rasp of Steve Perry's voice, and then that 4-octave range of Freddie Mercury. I try to emulate the sound of their voice, and then the nasally pinch that is Vince Neil's voice in Motley Crue. I'm able to make my voice sound like those people. It's just,
so you're not doing an exact impersonation. You're just capturing the flavor of their style.
For the most part, yeah. When I first started, that's what just killed my voice. Trying to figure out how to properly, how am I going to make my voice sound like this person, that person, this person, until I just kind of let it subside just a little bit, and I try to capture the essence of that person's voice now. Whereas now it's become a little bit more difficult to figure out how I want my voice to sound for original songs.
Well, that's true. You got to find your own
exactly
your own voice. And generally, that's why those people that you so admire are admired is because they have their own style, and nobody else is quite like them. They truly have their own voice.
Exactly. So I have to try to figure out what, in the long run, trying to figure out what works for me. So I believe I've, for the most part, kind of figured that out. But
well, Vj, where's your next performance? What's coming up?
Our next performance is at a private event, unfortunately. But the one after that will be in McAllen at the 80s Brewery. Yeah, I believe it's
80s Brewery.
Yes.
Is it? I mean, actually a brewery?
I think that's a clever name. I don't know if it's actual brewery. That would be really cool if it was, though. No, it's an 80s themed bar.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe that one is May 11th, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, it sounds like my kind of place. I was kind of an 80s guy.
You're welcome to go.
I was more of a 70s in terms of high school, college, but also I was still, 25 to 30 in the 80s. So you
got to experience it all.
I was still out and about.
Envious, incredibly envious.
Yes, good times. That's when we graduated. Disco kind of died, thank God, in the late 70s.
Disco gave us some great grooves.
It did.
Yeah.
But and then we graduated to. I'm not sure how you would describe the 80s. How would you describe it musically? How did it differ from the 70s?
From the 70s?
Because 70s, I think it was disco. And then in the 80s, you got some of the, the big band sounds, and you got, wasn't Journey in the
late 70s?
Late 70s?
Late 70s, early 80s was when they started, yeah. Because From if you're comparing the '70s sound of disco, you have a bunch of sounds that come out of the '80s. You got stuff from very punk rockish type of stuff, early '80s type of stuff, to hair metal. Very, or even the more subtle things like Chicago.
Oh, But Chicago was big in the '60s, and they were beginning to have their denouement. Same thing with America. They had their big time late '70s, and they began to fade. And a lot of times the bands that faded, they didn't fade because they ran out of music. They ran out of members. People went off on their own, did their own thing, or you're just tired of touring, so they break up, and so that breaks up the music as well often. Well, listen, thanks a lot for coming in.
Absolutely. It was great having.
I will want to see you in McAllen, especially since Gabriel has spoken so highly of your work the crowd skills.
Oh, it's all a matter of...
You can do Creedence, Heard It Through Grapevine. Can you do that?
For you, we'll try to get that one out for you.
Okay.
All right.
Well, what Creedence do you do? Because I like all of Who'll Stop the Rain.
As of right now, that's the only one that we do.
Who'll Stop the Rain?
Yeah. No, not Who'll Stop the Rain. I'm sorry. It's Have You Ever Seen the Rain?
Have You Ever Seen the Rain?
Yeah.
And they're very similar songs. Interestingly, and I think that they're both like war protest songs.
Oh, yeah.
About the war, right? Both of them. Oh yeah, I love those. But Creedence, I used to have the Cosmos Factory was one of the big vinyl albums that I had that I played all the time, along with Viva Terlingua was a big one. Let It Be, that was another of my favorites that was always there on the record player. Here's some old terms for you. The record player.
I've been wanting one. I never had one. I know what it is. I may have been born in '91, but I still know.
Well, I love it. Yeah. That a lot of my students are into. We call it retro, but they're into my music. They like Steely Dan. They like the Doors. And it's kind of cool that they like what I like, because I also do the same thing. I like their music.
Yeah, there's certain. Yeah, I feel that as well. There's certain songs, not all of it, but certain songs today, certain artists that I'm drawn to just for their ability, whether that's lyrically or musically, vocally, whatever it is. Whatever it is that they offer, I can't tell you exactly what it is. I can tell you for one, this artist named Louis Capaldi, great sounding voice, amazing lyricist. He's got, I don't know how many songs he's got written down, but his voice is just phenomenal. It's just not too often that especially for modern artists, I'm kind of stuck in the past, which I'm trying to shake that off a little bit. But his voice I'm a little drawn to it. I'm always drawn to the raspy style type voices. I don't know why, even though I don't really have that myself.
So Jim Morrison,
I do like some Doors, yeah.
And then Janis Joplin's about as raspy as you can get.
You're going way. It was like the '60s, I believe.
Oh yeah, '60s. She grew up in Beaumont, and moved from Beaumont to out to L.A. and hung out with Jimi Hendrix and Jim Morrison, and so kind of a remarkable career, really, for someone who came out of literally nowhere. and came in her style. I can't imagine her really having success in a different era, but she was kind of a screamer, but she had good lyrics.
Yeah,
good lyrics,
amazing lyrics, and some people can master that scream.
But she fit the time.
Yeah,
and so a lot of it, you say that their timing was great or their timing was wrong.
Right.
And so in her case, you can look and say, well, great timing, because she had a style that fit the time.
And I think that some artists in themselves are just timeless. I would put her in that timeless.
Would you?
I would. Yeah. I definitely would. And in terms of lyrics, in terms of vocals, and if she were to write the same stuff today, just about the same stuff today, involving the same type of politics or whatever it is that she would write about today, I think that it would fit very well today. Yeah, Janis Joplin, I think, would fit very well.
Well,
today.
who else is timeless?
Oof. Well, oh, geez.
Who's transcendent across the decades? I guess one way to know is you can say, is this person still kind of popular, like the Doors, like Jim Morrison?
Like the Doors,
The Doors hang on. They have a new audience every generation. They're rediscovered. But that's one I think of. And the Beatles. The Beatles. There's still a lot of Beatle lovers that are
Rolling Stones.
Rolling
Beatles,
Stones.
I think
Oh my God.
Michael Jackson himself. He's passed, but I still think that. I think his music is also.
I saw Mick Jagger performing recently. I mean, no, I didn't see him live, but I saw a video of him. I said, "My God, he's 80 years old, and he's performing like a 30-year-old."
Still moving.
I guess so. That's the recipe for youth. It's just don't give up on your rock and roll and perform every night.
If I could, I would. If I could, I would.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming in.
Absolutely.
Love
Thank you for
talking
having
to you.
me. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thanks for watching this BSPA video. Go ahead and hit like and subscribe if you like what you see. And if you really like what you see, go ahead and go to our website, brosoperformingarts.org, and smash the donate button. And then we'll really like you too.